Hi, Kiko.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Hey, well, thanks so much, Pat, for taking the time out. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations on everything that's going on in your career. How long has it been since you've been away from the stage?
20, almost 28 years.
Okay, okay,
Well, theater.
right.
I did a lot of sketch comedy and
Hmm.
some stand-up for a while. It's been a while even since that, but yeah, I haven't done a play since I left Chicago in 1998. So
Wow.
yeah, it's interesting. Been directing these plays in this with some of these people, but yeah, on stage, yeah.
Your acting career in Chicago began at the Steppenwolf Theater. What are some of your earliest memories on that stage?
Oh goodness. Well, I went to college at Illinois State University, which is where Steppenwolf started. So a lot of
Hmm.
the people that I mean, at least where all those people met. So Malkovich, Laurie Metcalf, Gary Cole, Terry Kinney, Jeff Perry, uh, a lot of those people, and so they offered an internship for graduating seniors, and I was got one of those, and I was working on as a production assistant and working on stage crew, building sets, lifting the porta potty up and down a couple flights of stairs in the rehearsal space, and the old rehearsal space was across the street in an old abandoned bank. Um, and But I was allowed to audition for all the plays, and I got cast as an understudy, and then went on as an understudy and got cast in some shows there after that. It was pretty thrilling. I mean, I think my first day, Steve Martin had written his first play, and they were working on that there in the studio. So he was around, and he was a big part of my young life.
Yeah.
Uh, and and Tracy Letts, who now is a very famous writer and actor, was in that play. I met him and befriended him, and I just had really like, I was what, not even 22 years old yet. Um, it was amazing because like it was really cool to be in show business and working with these people.
Mhm.
But it was also like it took the mystique off of it a lot, which made it
Mhm.
easier for me to enter that world. There wasn't a lot of like there weren't airs there. People didn't put on airs. There weren't people didn't have trailers that they
Right.
stayed in. Everyone was just around all the time. So, and they were accessible,
Mm.
and they would talk to you. And at the same time, I knew like I'm not gonna like sit there and pepper them with questions.
Right.
But it was nice. I mean, it let me know like I think a lot of people don't get that warm welcome into show business, and they're sort of
Mhm.
always fighting this uphill battle. So I was very fortunate that way. And my early memories are just it's like the early part of my career is like, oh, this is easy. Like, what is anybody talking about? Like, this is great. This is easy. And then, you get a few years into it, say like in my late 20s, early 30s, where it's like, oh, but everything is not going to come that easy. It
Mm.
is a lot of hard work, but I'm pretty grateful to have got my foot in that door that way because a
Yeah.
lot of young people will ask me like, so how do you, get into this and and I'm like, I don't know what
Right.
to tell you. It's such a different world now, and I was really lucky,
Yeah.
somebody opened the door a crack for me. So
So yeah, many actors who start their careers on stage, I know that I've heard it before that they can't see themselves doing anything else. They just want to be on stage and act on stage. Were you like that, or did you aspire to reach the film and TV
no,
industry?
yeah, I always wanted. I've been cinephile, a movie lover since
Hmm.
for as long as I can remember. That was always what I wanted to do, wanted to make films and act and all that stuff. So that was always my goal. Um, I, as it is with a lot of people, and you've probably experienced this a bit in your life, like you're so set on where you're trying to get to that you don't sort of like experience and appreciate um, where you are,
Hmm.
especially at a young age. And so I wish that I had done more theater then. Um, maybe I could have come back from LA and gone to Chicago,
Mm.
or stayed in Chicago a little longer and perhaps even moved to New York. But I got really busy with film and television work pretty early on, and it was hard to do. I mean, even now, like I agreed to do this play, which is just a one act for one night, and it's like I've had to turn things down. We've lost two actors because of conflicts. Like as we've been rehearsing, it's difficult to do when you have a career on camera and it pays the bills.
Hmm.
Uh, but I'm excited to be getting back into it now. I
Yeah.
think I have the ability to maybe do it, and I'm tasting the blood of the theater again and getting excited about it.
Have you realized what specifically drew you back to the stage um, after focusing on film and TV for so long?
Yeah, well, like it was shortly like before a few in the years, like a couple years before the whole COVID thing hit. I had a neighbor, this guy Kevin Grossman, who he and I became friends, and he's an actor, but it turns out he's a great writer,
Hmm.
and he had written some of these one act plays that I thought were hilarious, and they're very satirical and they're very timely. And I know he wasn't working as much as an actor, and so we just devised this plan for me to direct these plays. We were going to do a night of just his plays, and then literally, like while we were rehearsing for that, you know, I don't know, this coronavirus thing seems like it might be something. And so that never ended up happening. But, after things opened up a bit again, he was starting to do some of these things at a bar in Silver Lake at the Silver Lake Lounge. And I came and checked it out, and I just thought it was pretty cool what they were doing. So we got into theaters again. They didn't really have a director when they were doing those.
Hmm.
I volunteered my services as a director. We moved into theaters. I made them rehearse a lot more. And I found it very, I found it very rewarding. I find it very rewarding, especially working with younger people, sort of imparting whatever knowledge, wisdom I have in terms of direction, seeing them do that, seeing them feel the result of that, uh, going in front of an audience and seeing that, what I've kind of imparted to them works, and really, benefiting from that and enjoying that. So I found that very rewarding. And I've been doing that directing on and off for, I don't know, the last 3, 4 years or something. And then this opportunity came up. It's like there's been less movies and TV lately, basically in the last 2 years since this strike happened.
Hmm.
Um, and so I decided to teach a scene study class. I was teaching an acting class, did that for 4 weeks. It just ended last week. And I get kind of jealous of like the actors, they're acting on stage. And so this opportunity, it came up where this writer that we know, Alec Muller, wrote this. It was written as a short film,
Hmm.
but he sent it to me and Kevin, and we thought it could be a good one of these plays. And I said, well, I'd like to act in this. And so we started developing it essentially since the summer. And then it was like, okay, well, we're going to do this in October. And it's like, I never feel like we're fully ready, but we're rehearsing a lot. And the excitement of both the fear and the excitement of it it feeds into the energy of it. And you're going to go out on this high wire in front of an audience and see what happens. And so I have been thinking about maybe doing a full play, sometime. I've been thinking about that about the last 3 or 4 years too. So it's a way for me to dip my toe in the pool a little bit and
Yeah,
see how it
definitely.
goes.
So Window of the Soul. Can you tell me a little bit about your character and what drew you to that specific that specific role? Or do you play the self-help guru
I
himself?
do,
Okay.
yeah. He's so it's like a self-help seminar that is essentially the audience that'll be in the play is at this seminar.
Okay.
And he is someone who teaches the reading of people's faces and facial expressions as a way to read their mind and imparting that knowledge to his to the people who've paid to be at the seminar as essentially a form of manipulation, with people. He's a bit of a snake oil salesman and a bit of a guy who is taking advantage of people's vulnerabilities. Uh, so he's like this sort of very confident kind of Tony Robbins type figure, but in over the course of this particular seminar, there are some things that don't go well, and there are cracks in the armor, and his there are vulnerabilities that he has that get exposed, and so that to me is really always really interesting of like a powerful person who somehow loses that power in front of people, and we see the you know what's going on inside. It's just interesting for me to explore. I don't think it's interesting for me to play just like a really super confident person who knows what they're doing all the time. Like it can be fun, but it's always interesting to do that and then be like, okay, well, what are this person's weaknesses? What
Hmm.
everybody has a spot that could be, touched and they could crumble. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's a really funny play. And it is it talks about a lot of things I think that are going on right now in the world in an interesting and fun way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Character sounds a little bit like Frank T.J. Mackey. You didn't take any notes from him?
Yeah, well, for sure. I didn't, but I know that Alec, that's some of the inspiration, and also the Master, the Philip Seymour Hoffman character from the Master too. There's some of that in there too. Someone who is selling this stuff and gets challenged by somebody about it, and has to
Mhm.
if it gets defensive about it, essentially. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you realize anything coming back to the theater that maybe your time in front of the camera changed the way you approach performing on the stage?
Well, I'm certainly much more confident now, and I'm much more, I have more skill. I've been acting for uh, professionally now for 30 years, which is crazy because I'm only 28. But even though it's a different style, it really is all the same. Um, essentially what acting for a long time allows you to do is, if you've done the preparation, if you've done the homework, um, then when you enter the arena, when you get on set in front of the camera or you walk into the theater, then you let all that go and you sort of
Mm,
like let your unconscious mind take over. And you've memorized the lines, so they're in there. You know where you're supposed to go, you know what the blocking is, and you sort of just are that's just on autopilot, that's
mm,
just happening. And then whatever happens in front of an audience is kind of like this magical surprise because you're just really learning to be. And I think we all know that when we're starting. And look, there's certainly times when you snap out of it and you're thinking about, what you're going to have for dinner or whatever. But it, the actors like practice is just trying to learn how to just be and behave in a way that is truthful.
mm.
And I don't say real because it's like people say real, and it's like I think people think that means like not doing anything, Then you're in a theater, it's uh perhaps bigger and louder, but it's not any less truthful. If it feels like you're connecting to the other people on stage and you're connecting to the audience, then it feels right.
Authentic's a good word. I mean, it'd be my
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah, authentic is good. I mean, there's I don't know that you would look at um, Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood or Gangs of New York and be like, oh, it's really like real. I mean, it's big, it's theatrical, but it is like amazing and it is truthful. You know what I mean? We do know what we feel what that is. So
No, definitely. Well, speaking of PTA, for the last 26 years, if someone asked me what my favorite movie was of all time, my answer is still Magnolia. I just real quick, how did you land that role in that film, and what was the dynamic between you and Julianne Moore in that scene where she basically wants to rip your head off?
well, I was very lucky. I mean, I was here in LA. I had been here less than a year, and I loved Boogie Nights. I had seen it like, I don't know. I think I saw it 3 times when it came out. And so I just got a call that this casting director, Cassandra Koulakundis, which she had been, I think, the assistant on Boogie Nights, but she became the main casting director on Magnolia, and she's cast all of his movies ever since. Wanted to meet with me, and I got the sides. I mean, I just got the scene,
Hmm.
and it wasn't like a whole lot of pressure because I was just meeting with the casting director, and I think she was younger than I was, and I was 27 and he was 28.
Okay.
So I went and I met with her, and I really just ended up talking with her for a long time. There was a camera there, but we didn't do the scene and we didn't film it. So I was kind of like, and then she said, well, hold on a second. And she left and she came back with Paul. And he came and he sat behind a desk and we just read the scene. Um, the only, yeah, I forgot about this. The only note I remember getting from him is he told me to take my gum out of my mouth. I was chewing gum. I probably was just chewing it because I chew gum, but I also probably thought it was like a cool or funny character thing or something.
Okay, yeah.
And then he said, "Okay, let's do this," which it never happens. You don't get the job in the room ever. You get called later, or you never hear anything again. And so, then it was a really great process because he certainly involved everybody at every step of the way. So the first thing was a rehearsal day where for like the length of a whole day. I don't know if it was 8 hours or 12 hours of what. Anyone that had a scene with Julianne sat in a room together and we each person did their scene and everyone else watched while they did. And
Mm,
so that was, when I met Phil Hoffman for the first
yeah,
time and became friends with him. And Jason Robards was not there just because he was so ill at the time. He
right.
really was. He died not long after that movie came out. But I just felt like, oh, well, I'm invited to be a part of this. I'm not like some novice. I was given the respect of being a person who's just as important as any of these other people.
Oh, yeah,
And because he um is my age and a fun guy, like it didn't feel like pressure. I remember Julianne showed up and she showed up in the morning to shoot and she did not have her makeup on yet. And she was just radiant and beautiful. There's something that movie stars have that is just like, you're like, especially beautiful women like who are movie stars. Like I work with Jessica Chastain, same thing. It's just like they just show up and just like, they look like they're like lit and photographed in a movie, like in
right.
person. So that was like first impression, and we kind of like talked through it and everything. And then we did, shot the scene all day in the pharmacy over there in North Hollywood, um, and she didn't do it that many times. Like honestly, I think she probably got that in like 2 or 3 takes, and it
Mm,
wasn't like he wasn't doing like a ton of setups on it. I think just her and me, maybe and maybe a little tighter on me, but it was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like it sometimes is hard when you're in a situation like that where you just become an audience member as well as somebody, the other person who's in the scene, and you have to remember that you have lines, to say. And then I remember, I mean, I don't remember feeling intimidated by her. I just remember thinking she was amazing. And so maybe there's some of that. Maybe I was intimidated because I was young and not as experienced. And maybe there's some of that in my performance, which is good. And then I remember I had to do this thing where I sort of go in the back and I'm talking with the guy. He's supposed to be my dad. He's like the head pharmacist there.
Right, right.
And she's sort of there, kind of, it's before her, crack up, and you're kind of watching her boil over. So they shot that. And then they shot my side of it, which is just me whispering to this guy. And she didn't have to be there. She didn't have any lines or anything, but she sat there uh, next to the camera so that I could look at her,
Wow.
which it seems like, not a big deal, but it's a really big deal for somebody like that to do that. It's very kind and generous,
Yeah, definitely. That's
and
amazing.
it helps. So yeah, it was great. And then they had like they had a party halfway through shooting, uh, and then there was a day where we all got together and got the big group cast and crew photo on the set of the game show when they were shooting the What Do Kids Know section of the movie. And then at one of these parties, he said to me, "Hey, I got another one for you." And I thought, "Oh, so he's offering me a part in another movie or something, or we're going to do another scene with this character." But it was the beginning of the movie, which is the old
Yeah.
time thing
Yeah.
with the pharmacist in Greenberry Hill, London, which we shot, I don't know, four months later. That was so we shot the pharmacy was the beginning of the shoot, maybe the first or second week of shooting,
Hmm.
and then this was the final week of shooting. And we were on a Universal lot, like, and it was like back lot where like they shot all the Frankenstein and all that stuff, like the old European village.
Yeah.
They had a Pathé camera from 1910, I think, that was hand cranked. So Robert Elswit hand cranking this old camera, and it was on but he had it on all of his things. So he had it on the dolly, he had it on the crane, all the stuff. Uh, it was great. I mean, it was really cool. And obviously, it's been this great thing to be a part of all these years later, a great
Yeah.
legacy of that movie, which at the time didn't do particularly well.
Well, I mean,
Kind of had mixed reception, but
when you
uh,
saw There Will Be Blood, were you like Sir Edmund William Godfrey probably could have stepped in to this pretty seamlessly?
it's funny. I did go to I was invited by them to go to a screening of that, and I was just knocked out by it. But I remember afterwards, Paul introduced me to Daniel Day-Lewis, who seems to be about 7 feet tall when you meet him in person. And he dresses like a cowboy. He has all these like cowboy clothes.
Right.
So just imagine like you just have watched that movie, and then the guy from the movie walks out of the screen and stands in front of you and is
Wow.
talking to you. It's quite a surreal experience.
I bet.
But yeah, that sure. I'd love to work with Paul again, but
Yeah,
that's not up to me.
that's awesome. Hey, Pat, well, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to me about your new play. And we can't wait to see what's next on your filmography. And we can't wait to let more people know what you're doing right now.
Thanks, Kiko. Yeah, and the play is Los Angeles 6 is at the Elysian Theater in LA, 7:30 this Friday, the 24th, and then we're going to do an encore at some point in December. So if you missed that one, then
Perfect.
come later.
Sounds
Nice
good.
talking to you.
Nice talking to
Okay,
you. Have a
take
good day.
care. Bye.